World Story and Assemble Company. Welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And it is Tuesday, so it's our young tellers. We're waiting for some of our young tellers to join us. Undoubtedly, one or two will be here. Some countries are going to be having difficulty with their internet, I know. Some will be having difficulty at school, and but they will join us. And for those listening elsewhere on Facebook Live, etc., we've got a great program coming up. We've got Chip Colquhoun at on Friday as our children's teller. He hasn't been on for a long time, but it'd be great to have him on. Then on Sunday, we've got a real special starting 10:30 in the morning and going on till gone 4 in the afternoon, which is the Get a Word in Edgeways online festival. Get a Word in Edgeways will be live at Much Wenlock from on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, but where they're doing a special online day in parallel with their festival on Sunday between 1 and 2. I think that is it, when UK, Irish and Moroccan time. It'll be a kind of open mic. We can have a few tellers coming on, guest tellers. It'll be a bit of an open mic. I should be there. I've worked out that I can be there. I'm in Arad myself at another storytelling festival in north of Romania, but there's nothing on during that time, so I can spend some time there. So yeah, fantastic. And of course, next Tuesday we've got our young tellers again. And then what happens after that is all in the lap of the gods. Well, it requires me to do some recruiting of tellers, etc., etc. And exciting news for the new year: once a month, there's Justine Demire's Tales and Tunes, which was happening live at the Cross Keys in Henley, and before that the King's Head in Woodbridge, is now going totally online, and we're hosting it on the World Storytelling Cafe, and it's going to be, I think, probably the first or second Wednesday in the month, but we'll keep you in touch with that on starting in February. No, it'll be the first one. It'll be the first Wednesday of the month in February. So excellent. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to happen every month. And then I think next weekend, weekend after the festival, I think is going to be our worldwide story round. But I've got to check back with Mike Rust, because I'm away from the diary that tells me that sort of thing, and I won't get back to that till next week. Apart from that, it's going to be a quiet life, and hopefully someone will join us. I've been having a wonderful time in Romania. I've done. I had did a great festival up in Oradea. By coincidence, Justine Demire was in Timisoara at the same time. The festival of Timisoara is the European City of Culture for this year in Romania. And then I did, I think it'd be Bistrița. And I'm back at my house for a few days. Juliana and Julian, Juliana Marin was here. If you missed that, she told a fantastic story on Friday on our children's session, or stories for children. And now I'm off to Arad on an overnight train tomorrow for Georgiana. Meet Georgiana there, Georgiana's festival, storytelling festival in Arad. So I don't know what else to say, really. Hopefully someone will join us. I know Babasi sends his apologies. He's got a clash tonight. He can't be there tonight. But it will be So I talked to Waleed, but he's running around the cafe in Marrakesh. Marrakesh, I hear reports, is getting back to normal. The mountains it's still in a terrible state there, and hopefully there's some great work going on up there, and the whole Moroccan community is putting together, and the expatriate community, and we've got friends here in the cafe. But in the mountains, it's going to start snowing in a few weeks' time, and that's going to make some real problems if people are still living in their tents. So all that, and the cafe is still sending out hundreds and hundreds of meals every day, because the crisis, just because the crisis isn't on the news anymore, it doesn't mean to say it's gone away. There's some great organisation going on there, but it's still desperate. And so if anyone wants to donate, please go to either the Henna Cafe Soup Kitchen has got its own GoFundMe page, or the British Moroccan Society has got if you go to their website, you can find a link to their earthquake appeal. Any donations next week to the from the Get a Word in Edgeways Online Festival will go to that. So I've been hearing some really both stories of great courage and stories of and stories that give you hope, actually, in how people will pull together at times of crisis, but also stories of tragedy from the mountains. But so please keep sending your donations in to those either of those two charities. All the money gets spent on stuff rather than administration. So that's great. Right. Still waiting for hopefully some people coming in. I did a lovely school yesterday in Yassine Bougali, and I always pronounce that wrong, but it was their after school club, and there was loads of students there, and I had school students translating for me, which is always good. I love that when it's the young people themselves are translating for the old man. Thanks to Veronica and Diana. Diana's the English teacher there, and Veronica's the principal. Having the same struggles as teachers all over the world, with the same struggles I hear about from Morocco, same struggles I see going around classrooms in Britain. It gets more and more difficult, I think, for teachers these days. So if you're a teacher out there listening, I'm kind of got every sympathy for and every admiration for the work you do. On one hand, want you to be creative. On the other hand, they want you to do all the formal stuff and really you're getting more and more paperwork. So what the solution is, I think I just feel like I'm very lucky going into schools, and all us storytellers, all us artists going to schools, you know, it's like being asked to do your best lesson every day. So I should be with teachers in Morocco with a few other tellers, Alistair Daniels, Seth Townsend, Sarah Lloyd Wender, and Maria Gillan. We're running workshops for teachers at the end of the month in Marrakesh, encouraging children to pick their stories from their grandparents, but also to write their own. I think, especially in these times, it's really important that people write their own story and tell their own story, not have other people always tell it for them. So we'll be doing workshops on that. I just feel really uncomfortable pretending that I know anything, but I'm looking forward to that, and thanks to Fatima for organising it. She's a force of nature in Marrakesh. She's school superintendent. It's kind of like inspectors, or the people in charge of an area of schools, and a great supporter of the festival as well. And it was a lot to do with her efforts that we managed to get into 40 schools in the last festival, and we'll be at 40 more when the next festival happens. We're not sure when it'll happen, whether it'll be next year, the year after. It's all sort of in the lap of the gods at the moment, but it will happen, inshallah. So I'm just rabbiting on because I'm hoping that someone's going to join us. I'm not sure I can talk for another 15 minutes about, well, there's loads to talk about, but the storytelling and great work's been going on through, there's some, I have a young, hello, Kenza. Kenza's joining us. Hopefully, I'm admitting her. There we go. Right. Kenza, hello. There's there are more people listening to us than you can see live on Zoom. Kenza's gone out. She'll come back, I expect. It's internet problems. Come back, Kenza. Come back. Let you in. I'm letting Kenza back in. She'll be here. There we are. She's back. I need to get my... There we are. Hello, Kenza. You're muted at the moment. Don't leave us. Unmute. Unmute. How are you, Kenza?
Hi everyone. I'm sorry, but I didn't.
No need to
my
apologize for anything. You're very present here is enough.
yes, I'm sorry if I didn't come the last Tuesday, but I have a lot of exams and I have to study. So
yeah, well, I've been saying this. There's all sorts of reasons people can't join us, and exams is the main reason that our young tellers are sometimes away for a few weeks. We just assume if you're not here for a few weeks, we assume you're having exams. and studying, because such things are important. So, are your exams finished?
I'm fine. It's finished fine. I have the best grade, so yeah, I'm happy.
Of course you have. Of course you have. So you're happy. And
yes,
how is the family? How are your family in Morocco?
it's everyone fine, and they
Are
have
they back
a
in their
good.
house?
What?
Are your grandparents back in their house?
Oh yes, yes.
They're not
Everyone
sleeping.
is.
They're not sleeping outside anymore.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
and
great.
everyone is fine. Yes.
That's good. That's the most important thing. The two most important things. You did really well in your exams, and your family's fine. But have you got a story for us? There's not many people on Zoom today, but there will be people listening all over, and they listen on catch up. So you're not just telling to me and
Yes,
Waleed. So you know this.
I know.
Manuela and Simona and everyone will watch you.
Yes, Manuela, yes, Manuela is following on Facebook, so yeah, I know it's not
You know how it
you
works.
and me. Yes.
So have you got a
Yes,
story
so
for
today,
everyone?
yes, so today I have a story about Juha, and today Juha and the school. So if you want, I start.
Please
So
do.
yes, so the governor announced a great reward for all those who teach their children to read, write, do math, and draw. After 1 year, a competition will be announced. Parents who spend time educating their children will be punished. So Juha had a 10-year-old son named Imran, but he was a troublemaker and hated science very much. He sent him years ago to recite the Quran, but after 2 years he had memorized nothing except a short portion of the Quran. And since he was his only son, he was not harsh with him and left him in the camp. Juha ran quickly, mounted his donkey, and went to buy an inker and some tablets. On his way home, his son friends met him and started logging and logging. And one of them said, "Do these tablets belong to your son, Kautar?" Then Juha said without understanding anything, "Rather to my only son, his name is Imran, who came with you and memorized the Quran." So the children burst out laughing, and Juha went to his house. When he arrived, he told his wife and son about the governor matter. Then he asked his son, saying, "Your friend asked me about you, but they didn't mention your name. Rather, they said Kautar. So who is Kautar?" So then the son logged and said, "This name has been used since we were memorizing the Quran, and I used my mind like you, my father, and go out of the trouble and punishments for the sheikh." So Juha said, "How is it?" So Imran said and logging, "The sheikh would ask our names and ask us to recite a surah of the same name. When Muhammad told his name, he told him the same thing. "Oh, read that, Muhammad." And he said to Abram, "Read Surah Abram." And whoever did not read was punished. And when he asked my name, I told him Kautar. I used it to memorize Surah Al-Kautar. And then, did he punish me? Wasn't I smart? So Juha said, "From tomorrow you will go to a teacher among the patriarchs of the city to learn reading, writing, arithmetic, and also drawing. Otherwise, you and your mother will be punished before me." Then the wife said, "Tell him, Juha, that if he learns, he will receive a great reward and will not go to work in the field. Be optimistic and don't be pessimistic. Oh, friend, use your words beautifully." Imran then said, "Rest assured, father, I have become an adult and I can understand and learn everything quickly." So Juha was happy and then said to his wife, "I wish the governor would give me the choice after a year between an orchard or a palace in the city." Then the wife said, "Or he gives you the choice between flogging or imprisonment." So Juha got angry and said, "Be optimistic and go and do good." Imran, then the son of Juha, went to Dar al-Imam and sat in front of the teacher. The teacher was nervous and angry immediately and started asking everyone to find out their level. So he asked to Imran, "Why does the giraffe have such a long neck?" Then Imran replied, "Because his head is away from her." Then he asked him another question. "Does fertilization give birth or lay eggs?" Then Imran said, "Arrogance is cunning." Then the teacher said angrily, "And you expect permanent punishment from me if you don't know use your mind and forgot. Just kidding." Imran so came home and said to Juha, and it was said, and then Juha asked him about it. Then he said, "The teacher doesn't know any information." So since then we sat in front of him and he started asking us and we replied. Then Juha said angrily, "What is this? The garden will be not be ours." After several days, Juha decided to go to Dar Imam to reassure himself about his son's results. He looked out another window and found that the teacher did not teach the students in a good way. So he smiled and punished the student for the most trivial reasons and for the smallest thing or mistake. And he heard him ask his students to draw a picture for each of them as quickly as possible. Then he saw that his son Imran hurried after very quickly and went to the teacher to show him his drawing. Then the teacher saw only one dot. So he said to Imran, "What is this dot and what does it mean?" So Imran said, "He is a sheep who has gone too far." Then the teacher said, "Tell your father that I will come to see you." Zuhada returned home and told his wife, "Imran has managed to make his teacher happy and will come out to us tonight to thank us for raising him very well." Then the wife said proudly, "Of course, people told him that he's a good at reading, writing, and arithmetic, and also drawing, and that he has memorized the Quran." So in the evening, the teacher came and said to Juha, "Your son he always cries since he started with me, and he's making no progress. He will never learn. He only knows how to joke and doesn't know the answer to every question, and we'll have to exclude him after 2 days if his condition doesn't improve." So Juha said, "Sir, sorry, but the boy and all his friends haven't not seen you smile even once. And there is no one question we don't know the answer to. So can you tell me if the zebra is white and striped or is it black with white stripes? So the teacher looked at Juha and said, I don't know, but only now do I know what causes that sweating and increased heart rate. And as long as I defend her, and as long as Juha defend his son, I give you the good question, the good news that he will continue to be with him. The teacher so left angry, and Juha's wife said, the reason for your son's lack of understanding is that the house of knowledge is very far away, and because it is on the outskirts of the city, and Imran is very hungry, and when he reaches it, he is unable to understand nothing. Why don't we bring him a home teacher who is before our eyes and reassure you about him? So Juha was very happy with this idea. Then he said to her, why shouldn't I be the teacher? I'm a good at reading and writing and drawing and arithmetic, but I have no luck. So Juha began to teach his son, and after a few days, the neighbor's children arrived into the house, was filled with students, and Juha used kindness and patience with them. And every day he reviewed the homework he assigned to them, and then began a lesson with all students. And while he was reviewing the homework, one of the students said to him, didn't you tell us that a person would not be held responsible for something he didn't do? I didn't do my homework yesterday. So Juha looked at Imran and remembered his joke and said to the students, your father told me that yesterday that you were ill, so I will forgive you. A year later, the competition was held, and Imran and all Juha students managed to pass the exam. The governor so decided to appoint Juha as the city's teachers. He also asked him what his requests were, and Juha said, I want to sit with teacher to teach them how to deal with students so that they can easily teach science to uneducated people and be patient. The governor saw looked and said, I understand what you mean. I will not appoint a new teacher unless you agree. Thank you.
That was that was fantastic, Kenza, and I mean it's and such a great treatise on education. And I love that that Juha showed kindness and compassion, and everyone learnt because of it. And it was a great story, and quite long. I mean, you're getting more and more complicated stories, and holding it together. Fantastic! No wonder you did well in your exams. Obviously, you have kind and compassionate teachers. David. Oh, well, no, I'm going to Baba C because he's sort of here and not here. He's in a car and he's just popped his head in to show some support.
Yeah, I'm in a car.
Yeah.
And I came in late with the story, but you're right. Kenza, every time she tells us she great the last time. So I came late in the story, but I enjoyed what I heard. And once again,
yeah. So you heard the most important part. The preamble, the long bit was about how Imran was doing badly, and the story went in a completely different direction to where I expected it to. Thank you. We'll let you go because you're You're going in and out a bit, but I'm going to David next. But thank you for
All right, I'm out. Everyone stay blessed.
thank you for taking the trouble just to stick your head in, Babasi. I wasn't expecting to see you tonight at all. David's got a story. I'll get him to make his comments on Kenza, and then he's got a story. I'm letting him, despite his white hair, be on the Young Tellers, because the Gaza hasn't got any internet at the moment. So David is going to tell a story that he was told by one of the students in Gaza. But before you do that, David, would you care to make a comment on Kenza?
Yes, I would love to. Kenza, it's been a little while since I heard you telling a story, and your storytelling is getting more fluent and easier for me to understand. Well, I mean, your English is getting easier for me to understand, but that story is not a simple story. That's a complex story with deep meaning. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to that story again on the recording and really think about it, because there's so much in it. But it's interesting that in that story, in the end, Joha's students, including Imran, could all pass the exam. So there's sometimes unorthodox or unusual ways of teaching can have very positive results.
Absolutely. And with your permission, Kenza, I want to use that story in Marrakesh at the end of November when I'm talking to teachers in Marrakesh.
Okay.
I would like to use that story. So
Okay.
I'm going to take it back to Morocco and tell it in English.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not so bad. That's in the first part. I use parts that the dialogue is about my religion, because there is a surah. Surah, it's a part of the Quran, and then there is a short surah and a long surah. And then Imran, it's called Kautar. Kautar is a name of a girl. And when his friends called him Kautar, because there is a short surah, short spice in the Quran, that's its name is Kautar, and it's very simple to learn. So when he was in the exam in front of the teacher, then everyone who had the name, for example, Muhammad or Imran or everything, any name, then the teacher asked him the name of the person and then the surah of the Quran. And the surah of the Quran, for example, Muhammad or Yusuf, it's a very long surah. So
Long,
Imran decided to say Kautar. It's a name of girl, so it said Kautar because it's very short to learn. I say this
and the
because,
fact that he's using a girl's name makes it even funnier.
yes, yes,
Which is great, and that's why his friends are making fun of him and stuff. So
yes,
that's great. Well, I shall listen to it very carefully, and
Yes.
if I can get it in my head. But that's really important, because if you're using stories from, and David will back me up on this, it's kind of important to know if you're using stories from elsewhere, it's important to know the cultural context.
yes,
And you just explained. I got most of the meaning of the story,
Yeah.
and I realised that the short bits of the Quran or longer bits of the Quran were attached to the names, but it just makes so much more sense.
yeah.
That it's it just
I
makes
explain if there is
it's to have a girl's name is just gives it a whole different dimension. Thank you.
Yeah.
You Kenza. Now, David, just for people that are listening, at the moment probably Gaza has no internet and no broadband at all, but we have heard that Fala, who's a regular on this site, is her and her family are okay. Or I got a message yesterday saying that, so that's heartening. But David has a story that was given to him by a student in Gaza. So we break the rules. We'll just imagine you're a young Palestinian student, and despite your grey hair and West Country demeanour, go for it, David.
I will. Can I just say a couple of things before I tell the story? And the first thing I want to say to Kenza again is just now I was online with teachers in Germany, and I told, it was all about stories coming from different heritages. And I told a story that I learned here from you, Kenza, to German teachers. I told the story about the judge, the merchant, and Juha. And it's one of your very short stories.
Yes.
And where Juha played a nice joke on those two. So I want to thank you for that story. And I just love taking stories I've learned from you and passing them on to other people.
Yeah.
Kind of taking them into a little bit of Moroccan culture and talking about telling stories from students' own cultural heritages. So thank you, Kenza, for that.
Oh, it's not a problem. I see another video of you in the to tell a story about Johan the hat to the students.
I also told that
and
story last week in Hamburg. I love
and I saw the whole video. I'm so happy because I see my story to another person take my story and tell to another person. So it's so person to person. It's like I'm happy. So thank you.
Your stories have wings.
Yes.
Many students in Hamburg heard that story the week before last.
And we're looking forward to the book when you eventually. A book is always behind. When I'm asked to write a book,
yes,
I'm always a year behind my deadline. So no hurry. I
have been in communication with a number of people who I know in Gaza earlier today, and fortunately, well, of course, everybody who responded is okay. Although one of the teachers has lost some family members, and another teacher who's a very close friend of mine has no longer got a home. But this is the reality of what's happening in Gaza at the moment and in that part of the world. 2 years ago, I did a project I called Teach Us a Tale, and each week I met a student, sometimes a younger student, sometimes a teenager, in Gaza, in Palestine, and I asked them to teach me a tale. And they came with their teacher and they've been practicing a story, and I learned stories. And if you will allow me, John, I'd like to spend 2 minutes just telling you the names of the children and the names of the stories that I learned.
Yes, please.
So I learned, for example, and this is how I learned the stories, by writing a story and listening and taking notes and pictures, and then retelling it to the student and trying to learn it. So I'm not going to tell you the stories, but I'm just going to tell you the titles. So from Maram and Malak al-Shurafa, I learned the story of the gluttonous son. From Sheraz Tafesh, I learned the story of the selfish boy. From Hala Munta, who we know, I learned the story of the sleeve. From Janat, much wants more but loses all, a warning story about greed. From Kashnul Kashanol, I learnt the story of the stork caliph. And from Farah Abu Jassa, I learnt the fox's tale. I learned from Zaina, 12 years old, the story of the faithful cloud, and from Asil al-Nadi, Malek's story. From Tala Badwan, I learned the story of the magical revenge. And from Arij, I learned the story of Yosafi. From Tala, I learned the story of Ashab and the three friends. From Gina Salim, I learned dignity is priceless. From Malak Abu Goluan, I learned the wise Shah. From Dima Islim, I learned the white elephant. From Muhammad, I learned the value of life. And from Hala, I learned the aspiration trap. And there were more stories. But here is another story. And I learned this, and I don't have a record of the name of the child who told me this story.
And I must stop you for a second and explain to Norman, who's just come in, the reason we've got David telling a story on the Young Tellers is that we can't have anyone in from Palestine at the moment or from Gaza because they have no internet. So David is not David. David is a child in Palestine telling a story that he learnt from a child in Palestine.
Thank you, John.
Go
I'm
ahead,
representing all of these children who I learned stories from 2 years ago during the project Teach Us a Tale. And the story I'm going to tell is one of the shortest stories, but it's a story that I find myself telling again and again and again. And when you hear the story, you will know why. Mohammed was with his friends. Mohammed had just bought himself, with all the money he had, a new pair of leather shoes, shiny leather shoes. And Mohammed and his friends were running to catch the train. Well, when they got to the train station, the train was already moving away from the platform. They ran as fast as they could along the platform, and one by one they jumped onto the moving train. Mohammed was the last one to jump on. But as he jumped, one of his brand new shiny leather shoes fell from his foot onto the platform. He was on the train and leaning out of the window. What could he do? Quickly, he pulled off the other shoe. He leant out of the window and threw the shoe back so it landed on the platform. What are you doing, Mohammed? That was a beautiful shoe. My friend, said Mohammed, what use is one shoe to me? The person who finds that pair of shoes on the platform, they will benefit.
I love that story. I love that story. I've heard you tell it before, and it is such a good, or maybe I heard one of the Palestinian children on that have come on, but I've heard that story from one of the two, but it's such a lovely story.
It's such a beautiful story, and it's so typical. It's so typical of the stories that I've learned so many times from such wonderful, creative young people in Gaza. So I say salam and wishes for safety.
Okay, Kenza, it's time for you to say something about David's telling. We put the shoe on the other foot.
So I like every story because I think that at this moment, the all children in Palestine have complicated and have difficult moments because it's not a good moment. So the children it's not the adult mind, but the children see the world in a different way, in a different. So it's the children didn't know what happened at the moment when it's come to war and when it's the electricity, internet go away. So the children want to see the world in a beautiful way, in a beautiful city. And I think that this story is represented every boy and girl and every children that's in this moment have a good a bad moment. So I think that this story is very beautiful, incredible, and I think that the boy and the girl that write the story have a meaning under the story, have a way to see the world with this story. So I think it's a beautiful project, and I think that the all children I think was very happy because her story doesn't stop with the war, but continue and use David to tell this whole world. So I think that it's very beautiful.
Thank you, Kenza.
Thank you, Kenza.
And as always, a really insightful comment by you. No wonder you do really well in your exams. Anyway, well, thank you both. Thank you, young David, who went back to his childhood to represent. Yeah, Norman wants to say something.
Yeah, yes.
You're talking to the child, David.
David, child who, with a man with one understanding. That what that story tells me is that when help is given, it must not be incomplete. We must also throw the other shoe. And one other thing I would beg your indulgence, all of you. It's a story I heard from a child through my friend, and the child was her father. And it's in Palestine, set in the time when her father was a child. And one child going to the school, the teacher told him, if you come to school barefoot again, couldn't afford shoes. So if you come to school, you will be forbidden to take the class. Children all heard this. The next day, all the children came to class barefoot. And when the teachers saw, and this is the second miracle of the story, teacher saw that all the children were barefoot and says, I see where this is going. And he took his shoes off as well so that he could continue the class. And this, I feel, is a good story to add to the child David story. And this I dedicate to my friend Sarah Abu Sharar, who is from the Hebron Hills and has friends in Gaza where she taught for a while. And thank you for allowing me to tell this story.
And thank you for giving it, Norman. We've ended up with we've had the child Norman, the child David, and the incredibly adult Kenza. So,
thank you so much, Norman. That was such a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful one.
Thank you.
Well, Norman's always commenting on your stories, Kenza, so you can comment on Norman's story.
I think I love it. I love it because it represented a community, a person that use empathy to another person, to communicate it, to represent that the love exists, and the person that have maybe something that the other person don't have, use empathy and enter in communication with the other person. It's a signal and it's a representative of the love of the children. So I like it a lot, this story. I like it and I love it. And I think this story in this moment, it's have a place in my heart. So thank you for sharing this story.
Thank you. And I would like to again to give credit to Sarah Abu Sharar, who gave that story to me. And I felt it was appropriate to tell because it's from a child from 60 years ago, but it's from a child that has too much relevance today, right now. So thank you, Kenza.
Well, thank you, all three of you, who have brought so much to the table today. And so what have we got coming up? Friday, we've got Chip doing stories for children. Norman, you must go and listen to Kenza's story on Catch Up. That's an order because she told the most fantastic story today. So you've got your homework, Norman.
I will.
And then on Sunday, we've got from 10:30 to 4:30, we've got the Get a Word in Edgeways online festival. So that's and of course, if Norman, I think between 1 and 2 UK time, and David, if you want to come on and tell a story on Sunday, interrupt your Sunday lunch, David, and and Kenza, if you want to come on and tell a story on Sunday, it's the usual. It's between 1 and 2 UK time. So we'd love you to come on and tell a story, Kenza.
If I have a time, I come. It's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, if you can get away from your family for a minute.
John, can I just say something? I've just had a message. I just asked my friend Haneen Khaled, who's from Gaza, but right now she's in the UK. She's studying. She's away from her children and her husband. And I just asked her if there's something she would like me to say on her behalf. And she said, yes, please. She couldn't come in. She said, say that we teach the children love and life. We see how their eyes are shining with their dreams. That's it.
Fantastic. And with that, what a way to end the program. Thank you. And thank you, Waleed, for flying the magic carpet as always. Thank you, Kenza. We hope to see you next week if you haven't got another exam. And it's always a pleasure. And you two now back to being your adult selves. Revert to your sage selves, and we'll listen to the young people next week. But thank you for what you brought today. It's utterly appropriate. So goodbye, everyone, wherever you are in this wide world and however you're watching it. And we'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Bye, everyone.
Right.